Hello? Oh yeah, no problem. No, no worries. I think this is just us three. I don't see anybody else waiting or anything like that. So shall we proceed? 7 o'clock. Hold on. Amy is also coming in. All right. Hello, Amy?
Hi, I've got to put it on mute.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, no, no. It's all good.
Can you mute me? That's safer.
Eh,
I'll mute. I'll keep it quiet.
Okay, no worries. I mean, I'll leave everything open, so that way people can come in and out as we discuss these issues. First of all, just let me introduce myself really quick. Gustavo Ortega. Hold on 1 second. Excellent. Okay, there's more people coming in. Yeah, okay, I think okay, that's everyone. Again, my name is Gustavo Ortega. I'm a candidate for Bay Harbor Islands, number 90 on the ballot, and I'm here to represent everyone within the community. Some of the key issues that I've, heard from everyone. Number one is traffic development as well. Those are one and two. You can, smush them together. And there's other issues within, the schools, the scooters aspect of it, children going around. Let me bring someone else in. Okay, great. All right, excellent. We're going. So I'll keep the floor open for everyone to ask me questions, um, any particular concerns, some of my ideas. One thing I do want to be let's be respectful towards each other. Let's not get into some kind of screaming match. I believe this is for our community and how we want Bay Harbor Islands to be. When? I mean, I've been involved within the community for a while now. I've been involved with the school. I've taught children baseball from this community for years now. I walk around, I see things, I speak to the council members. I may not go to every meeting, however, I do have conversations with them of ideas. They've contacted me because they believe I have a pulse within the community that is understanding and those kinds of things. I'm quite involved. One of the biggest things I want this community to be, to feel comfortable, and I know right now there isn't. And unfortunately, due to the some decisions before, seeing all the construction. 1 second, please. Admit. Okay. Okay, here we go. We're seeing all the development, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I decided to jump in there too, because we really need to take a responsible approach to development. Will we be able to stop it? No, and I am not proposing that at all. What I am proposing is that instead of having 25 development projects, maybe we cut it down a little bit less, 10 or so, because it is affecting how our community feels, how we walk around everywhere. Our tires get flat tires. All these things. That's part of being in the community being developed. Hold on 1 second. Sorry. Okay, go ahead. Next. Would you like me to talk about some of my ideas as far as traffic?
Gustavo, just this is Gene Lerner. First of all, thank you for doing it. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Just I guess maybe I'll speak for myself. I'm not really familiar with your background. I guess the fault is I haven't had
Well,
the time to delve into and take a look at your background and qualifications. If you
well,
can speak to that, just so we can get to know you a little bit
okay,
better.
excellent. So for my background, I was originally born in Mexico. I came here when I was 9 years old. I grew up in upstate New York. Um, I got my BA SUNY New Paltz, my master's at Mercy College in children with special needs. I've been a special education teacher for the last 17 years. I currently teach at Biscayne Beach Elementary, and I love it. It's one of you know, a lot of people don't get to say to go to a job and enjoy. I do. I love educating our children with special needs. My even my principal wanted to move me to a gen ed class. I fought over it and said I am not doing that because I love what I do. I have two beautiful children. They go to our public school here, and I have a beautiful wife who's a neuropsychologist at Joe DiMaggio's. And you know that's who I am. I'm a dad. I drive my children around to ballet, baseball. I'm a coach. I currently coach my son's 10-year-old 10 and under league, and that's who I am. I mean, I'm a teacher, and I want to get more and more involved within the community to help the community solve some of the issues that we have.
I got you. I guess asking you about your policy is a little broad right now. For maybe you can list three issues that are currently facing the island and your approach to fixing them. So the three most important issues that you feel that we face as a community,
Traffic.
and how you would tackle them.
Traffic, I think it's really suffocating the joy of living within the community. And this is something I believe that we can fix. One, we have to fix the lights over in Ball Harbor shops and on all over Surfside. Because when we're going to Publix, it's taking us 20 minutes at time, which is ridiculous. And it's a lot of it's due to the lighting. The lighting, one light will be green and then the next one's red. And then as soon as the red one turns green, the one previous turns red. So we need to synchronize that. We got to coordinate with the Ball Harbor and Surfside in order to fix that. Now going out to Sansuchi, I believe we really have to coordinate the bridge issues. I mean, sometimes it goes up a 5 after, 10 after. It should be going up a 15 after and 45 after as it was originally planned. So that's another, going westbound. That way we can solve the traffic that way. But also overall, we got to talk to the community members throughout Surfside, Ball Harbor, and Sansuchi and North Beach so we can coordinate all the lighting because I do think it makes a huge difference. I don't know if you've ever been to New York City where the lights are synchronized. One will go green, 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 and the whole flow of traffic goes. So we can accomplish this, but we just got to get together and solve that issue. Secondly, is the development. There is an extremely there's so many projects. Everywhere you turn, there's a project. I believe that instead of having 20 or 25 projects going on at once, I believe that we should limit that. Maybe 10 projects per year. Now, I'm not saying we're telling developers or homeowners saying you cannot build X, Y, and Z, but maybe we can just say, hey, look, we have all these development going on and it's hurting the community, which is the worst possible thing that you could do. So those things. And thirdly, I would say, from my perspective, there is a high need of after school activities for our middle schoolers and high schoolers. Um, I've gotten a lot of ideas for that. For example, once a month, having them gather somewhere, taking them to a baseball game or a basketball game. I don't know if you're familiar, they have the dinner for the seniors, once a month. We can, hold on, let me admit someone else in. So that's an idea to get the children involved, to give them more opportunities to do things. And we can develop those ideas as we go. So those are some of the top issues that we have. And also, it's the development, the traffic. It's really, I believe, having a huge effect in our lives, and it's not a positive, it's a very negative. So those issues, I hope to tackle. I want to talk to the commissioners. I want to talk to whoever we can, FDOT, so we can fix those issues. And also my call, hopefully if I am elected, if I'm lucky enough, to my colleagues in the council, hey, we need to see how we can, yes, we can have development, but let's have a responsible way about going forward. Do you have any suggestions also? Also, by the way, one thing about me, I by no means am ever set on my ideas because that's just not who I am. I understand that, guess what, Gene, maybe you have a better idea than I do. And, I love to hear that. And I will take that forward and say, hey, he proposed this great idea. Why don't we implement it? So it's not just me. It's always about we. If we want X, Y, and Z, we have to, do it together. Yes, if I'm happy enough to be elected, yes, I'll have a voice and so forth. But it's always, always better when we're together and we do it together. So,
Hey, Gustavo, I have a question.
okay.
So, you're obviously a family man. I think you mentioned that you're a teacher.
Yes.
You're obviously very active in your kid's life, and doing this essentially volunteer role of being on the town council is certainly going to take some time out
Yes.
of your regular routine. W- What is your plan, or how do you plan to divvy up your already personal routine with setting aside time, as far as commitments to the town of Bay Harbor Islands. Being on the council, I'm sure there's a lot of legal jargon that you're going to have to read through to familiarize yourself with certain items before you discuss it amongst the other town council members and make decisions. So I'm just kind of curious on how do you think you could effectively balance that very active personal life and being on the town council.
Uh, as I've grown older, you realize that you make time for things. For example, my dog passed away not too long ago, right? And I used to spend about an hour and a half to 2 hours every day walking the dog around. And hold on one second, I'm admitting somebody else. Okay, there we go. I used to spend about, an hour and a half to two walking the dog around. And today I think about it, I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I even do that? But guess what? When you're passionate for something, you make time for it. And also, our schedules can adjust. My wife's schedule can readjust, my schedule can be readjusted, and so forth. And also, we have friends that can drive my daughter to ballet or my son to tennis. We can coordinate that way so I can spend more time to the community and so forth. So, it's funny, like I said, it's just as I get older you wonder how you're going to make this time, but you do. When you're passionate for something, when you want to improve the quality of life for everyone, and my children as well, then you make time for it. And that's someone asked me about that before. Are you just going to show up and not read anything? No, 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 that's not who I am. That is by far not who I am. If I'm committing myself to this, I am committing myself. I am not going to take this lightly. I am not going to take this lightly because it's not a lightly. Although it's a volunteer position, it is a big responsibility. Hold on one second. There we go. It is a big responsibility to be in the council. And also, I do feel that I would love to have, monthly or weekly or bi-weekly meetings like this, so that way you guys are informed of what's going on, and also you can give me feedback so I can take back to the council and get it done. Because yes, I'll have a limited amount of time, right? But what's better when the community is informed and informs me of what is needed. So the time, yes, no, you're right. You know, it's you find time when you're passionate for something.
Thank you.
No problem. And also, as I stated for the children's ideas, you know, and the parent chat group, there's Shoshana blasted a whole bunch of ideas, and I thought they were fabulous. Again, that wasn't even my thought process. I am really envisioning the town hall that we're going to build. My One of my missions was to make sure that there's space for our children to go to. So, because there's so many of them. I don't know if you've been to the library right after school is over. The middle schoolers, they're packed in there. There's like 30 or 40 of them, all standing up, squeezed together, and I hope that the new town hall has a place for them to go, to tackle that. But as I mentioned, Shoshana had a whole list of activities that our children should be able to have, and I hope to work with her and the rest of the community so we can build upon those ideas. And I know I said this before for some of the people, it is never I, it is we. If we truly want something to be accomplished, we have to do it together. I mean and that's the bottom line. And I truly believe that.
Thank you, Gustavo. I just wanted to make a comment just for the chat in general. It's not really a question, but I don't know Gustavo personally, but just the fact that he's a teacher, I appreciate that teachers in their careers have a very collaborative approach to everything they do in the schools they work out. I think just hearing you speak, it's a little bit obvious that you come from a school background. One thing that I like about that personally, I think a council should be well diverse, meaning we should have council members with different careers, different backgrounds. I believe we might have a couple attorneys or CPAs on the town council, which is great. But having someone who's a teacher, in my opinion, brings a fresh perspective and a very, very collaborative approach. I'm in a private business industry that works with schools, and just seeing how they really value teamwork and really good communication, I personally think would be a good skill to have to bring to the town council. But that's just a personal comment I wanted to make to everyone that's on here.
Thank you, Ernie. And also, let me add this too. I know there's a lot of big projects that the town needs. For example, the bridge. Obviously, I don't know if anyone has read some of the reports. The reports pretty much says that the bridge is obsolete. I believe we're going to be spending over $1 million to repair it when it's closed down. And let me add somebody else. There we go. And the bridge, you know, it's going to cost 300 million dollars to replace it. And part of that is trying to get funding for it from the state, from the federal, and so forth. Let me This is great. We're getting a lot of people. Excellent. Um, so part of that is getting the funding from the state, the federal, and I've been fortunate enough that I know a couple of people. I know Fabian Basabi. I can work with him, and I don't mind working with anyone. It doesn't have, to me, it's not whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent, so forth. That shouldn't matter. What matters is helping the community. That's the bottom line. Yes. You know, as a special education teacher, it's just a little selfish on my part. I believe our special need children need the absolute best possible help and opportunities as they can. I have unfortunately, I have two beautiful children who are, they just have a lot of energy. And but a lot of my special needs children, have issues with socialization. I would love to have a little gathering of our special needs children within the community because we do have special need children within our community here in Bay Harbor Islands. And it would be, you know, an awesome thing to do for them. And not only that, but also the parents, because a lot of times, unfortunately, like for example, special needs children don't get invited to a lot of birthday parties, right? And so, therefore, that social aspect, I would love to have a little once a month or something gathering with sensory things for our children to experiment. And that's also not just the special needs one, but also the gen ed ones. Get them all together because sometimes, I see it every day. It's amazing what happens when you just let children play. They don't. uh, they don't care what color you are. They don't care how tall you are. They don't care, what shirt you have. All they want to do is play. So that is something that I would love to do. I really, that would really be special for me personally, to have an event for our special needs children within the community and, invite everybody else. It would be a great celebration for all of them. I know some people came in a little bit later. We were discussing the traffic situation. I'll just really quickly go back and just state some of the things. The bridge needs to stay on track. It should stay up 15 after and 45 after. The lights over on Byring and the Ball Harbor shops, those lights need to be synchronized. And that's something that we need to work on ASAP. I believe that will help a lot of the congestion here on Cane Concourse and Bay Harbor Islands. Just for those of you that came in a couple minutes late. Anybody else questions or comments or any? By
Yeah,
the way,
hi. I
thank
have
you,
a question.
thank you everyone for coming. I really appreciate it. I wish we would have had a
Huh?
debate, but unfortunately, I did not. It was not me who canceled it. Let's just say that.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
I have a question. I would like to piggyback on your previous comment about the events, of include like for kids and for the whole town. I was wondering what your opinion is of the way our town organizes and executes its community events. What do you think of that? Like all of those
The
Sunday night programming and whatnot.
I know that the way that they coordinated the after school program, that was a disaster with the YMCA and all that. Um, I thought that was a disaster. That was
Okay.
not good planning. I don't know what happened. I don't really, I don't know the details, but the results were not good. And I think we need to improve on that, like significantly, because our children deserve to have the activities and the after school programs. They should be able to, have drawing if they want to do that. They should be, luckily we do have tennis that or other activities. And they should be high quality activities that they have, not only educational, but also fun. That our children need to learn. They learn by playing. Um, but as far as the movie night, I think that's the kids seem to enjoy it quite a bit. The music events that we have, I do want to continue those kinds of events because I know that a lot of people do like it, and I think it's great. It does bring the community together, and anything that we can help our communities to come together, I'm all for it. Because a lot of times, we go into our apartments and And unfortunately, that's where we are for the rest of the evening or the rest of the day. Um, and so, therefore, the more community events that we have to bring the community together, the children together, I'm all for it.
I just wanted to ask Yuli because I think she asked a good question, but I wanted to make sure at least I understood her question. Yuli, can you maybe rephrase it? I know Gustavo answered it really well, but he's trying to let people into the meeting. I don't know if he answered your intended question because I thought I might
Just
have missed something
go
there.
ahead.
Can you go ahead, Yuli, and clarify
Well,
if
my
yeah.
intended question was that sometimes the programming that our town offers feels not redundant, but kind of like overthought a little bit. Like a movie night is amazing, but or a music night is great, but happening on a Sunday night, which is technically a school night, you know, it's a little bit questionable. And
No,
then I feel that better coordination is needed with Surfside and Ball Harbor because it feels like everyone is pulling their blanket and trying to outdo each other with events. So they sometimes there's conflict in scheduling, and yeah, it feels like it's like it needs a little bit better coordination. And then there's been a lot of complaint, for instance, about the art festival,
oh,
especially the way it looked last time. It was fun for the kids with all the free rides and ice cream, but like the festival itself, like was it even successful at all?
no, I do agree as far as the art festival. The traffic with that and the coordination. I would have to really look into more and see how was it beneficial to the community? That's my question for that, and I would have to look into more in order to say yes it was or no it wasn't. And I do believe we should coordinate much more with Ball Harbor, and Surfside. And the fact that just rubs me the wrong way. The fact that Ball Harbor just built a beautiful playground, but our children cannot go in that playground. I really would love to talk to those commissioners and say, hey, our children go to the same school. Our children play in the same school. They're being educated in the same place. They can come over here in our playgrounds and we have absolutely no problem. We can go to Surfside, no problem. Why is it that you're preventing our children from entering playgrounds? Um, that, like I said, that I don't think it's right. I really don't think it's right. Our children should have, if there's a playground, they should be able to access it, especially since we're neighbors. I mean, we are right here. Um, and the coordination, yes, I would work on that definitely. So that way, no events overlap. I know Surfside has the beach parties a lot, and they do have I think on Thursdays, they have the events over by the town hall. And yeah, and that's another thing too. It's like only residents of Surfside, only residents of if we can open up to our three communities, I think that would be awesome.
From my understanding, I think the mayor of Bow Harbor is the son of our mayor. Is that right?
Yes, yes. And that's another, it boggles my mind. How are you not communicating, I mean, with your son, right? um, and stating that not being our children in Bay Harbor Islands not being able to access the playground. That's just not right. I don't know why he hasn't said anything. I don't know. I don't know. But that's
Um,
something that I would love to work on.
yeah, thanks. To piggyback off what Yuli said specifically about the art show, I know I've attended the art show personally every single year. So it's coming from a place of knowledge. My personal opinion about the art show, the amount of money we wasted, which I only discovered maybe after the most recent art show, just it does not ascertain for the amount of people who have attended the event. So I don't know if I'm saying this question correctly, but I wonder when you're meeting and working with potential town council candidates, if you're elected, are you willing to have these types of serious and uncomfortable questions, perhaps if maybe one council member feels so strongly about it? But I think you just said it a little while ago, you'd want to look into it. Well, how do we look into that? Has anyone even tracked the actual attendance? I don't expect Bay Harbor to come out and say, hey, it was not a great event this year. I don't think anyone's going to come out and say that, but behind the scenes, we should be tracking these things to make sure that the cost that we're spending makes sense. And I did my own research. I started recording the art show attendance at different times, including peak times. And me as a resident, longtime resident, I appreciate the art show. I've always said it's a good thing. I don't think it needs to be 2 days. From my understanding of being very involved in town council meetings, the vendors of the art show did not want to do it 1 day. They thought that it would be the same, I guess, setup and breakdown for just 1 day worth of payments that we make to them versus 2 days. So I just want to know, are you willing to take deep dives into certain situations here on the island?
Yes, and that's just a simple answer because, like the art show, we really should be tracking how many people are coming in and is it worth it? Did the local businesses get a bump in that? That's another aspect that we need to look at. Um, and all those things. And you got to see if is it a positive or a negative. If it's a negative, we may have to cut it, right? I mean, why keep going after and after? And I've also been down there, and with the attendance, I don't see, much traffic. But that's just maybe for that 2 hours that I was there, maybe it wasn't much traffic. But overall, we should have an understanding of how many people are coming in. Is it helping the businesses, the local community, and go from that point on?
Okay. Hi, Gustavo. It's Mariana. I spoke to you on the phone. With that being said, I have a question for you.
Yes.
I have a question about transparency, because when it seems like when people run for the position, they're like, okay, we listen to the community, we talk, we do this, we do that. But then when we get there, it's everything is just like
Yeah.
has always been. So my question will be, would you still be communicating with people and actually like giving us updates? Meaning like, okay, 2 3 months later, you're like, okay, listen, guys, I looked into the art festival, was not successful. I gave my opinion, nobody listens. That's what's happening. Or I looked into this, I gave this idea, but they didn't listen. I think it's very important because, that's what we're looking for, to have actually somebody who, you know, gives our idea, to them. Because I see everybody reading in the group chats, but they're not responding.
One thing that I do want to emphasize, I do want to have even monthly meetings with everyone. Says anyone's welcome to come join. Give me your ideas on how to improve Bay Harbor Islands. And at that point, you know, I have to number one, I got to make sure with the sunshine law, which I think it's ridiculous to how the whole aspect of it, how you can't discuss some issues with X, Y, and Z and so forth. But I just got to verify with all the sunshine laws that I'm not breaking any law. And once I, figure that out, I would love to continue to have once a month meetings with any member of the community, in order to help and update people. For example, the newsletter that was supposed to be sent out about the candidates. I just checked my mail. It's not in my mail. Why is it so late? I get updates from Surfside through my email once a week. We should be able to communicate that way to all our residents here in Bay Harbor Island. I don't see why we can't do that. Even this election, I mean, I've walked around so much and I'm shocked of how many people still don't know that there's an election coming up. We get text alerts. Why can't we text information to everybody that there's a council meeting coming up? that there's, something else is going on, an event's coming up, and so forth. So I do want to continue to communicate. I do want to have monthly meetings, and I do want to update everyone here because, that also holds me accountable. And I want to be held accountable. That's the bottom line. And if I'm not doing a good job, I want you to tell me. And I'm not going to start crying and not, no, I want to know because, that's the only way that I will improve as a council member if I start listening to everyone's voices and so forth, which, and obviously I'm going to make mistakes, right? I mean, anytime you go into, I remember my first year of teaching. Oh my goodness. You can only read so much in the text, but then once you go in it becomes a different reality. But I do want to be held accountable and I do want to have monthly meetings. I want to update everyone. I want everyone to understand what's happening within the community.
I'm glad you asked that, Mariana, because I've lived here 9 years, and around election time, it seems like candidates make it seem like it's an open door policy. They're very approachable, but then once the position's secured, I never even see them walking around the community. And this is not a position for the federal government. This is for Bay Harbor Islands. I think there should be somewhat of a tradition for all candidates to just be seen in the community, not just Bay Harbor Islands events, just be a regular citizen walking to a coffee shop or walking with your kids. And I can't say that, and this is coming from someone who walks here every day for 9 years. I don't really see some of our council members once their position secured. But I definitely am interested in a candidate. If what you're saying is true, Gustavo, and you want to be accountable to the folks that you're representing, I think that will be a breath of fresh air to a lot of us. I can agree to disagree with anybody, even our own council members. That's okay. Those are called healthy disagreements. But one thing that's non-negotiable for me as a resident here is transparency. And I do think there's been a lack of. Just recently, I've been trying to get more involved. I've requested records. I haven't received anything back. And I think that's the next step of this island, is just to have a little bit more transparency.
And you're not, I've heard from other community members, you're not the only one that they've requested information for X, Y, and Z, and they haven't heard anything in weeks. And that's something I want to push. When residents have questions, we need to have answers. And if we don't, that's a problem. That's a big problem. How do we not have answers for a project, for example, that's going to go up?
Because sometimes the answer is not what the people want to hear, and I feel like when they don't want to talk to us, it's because they have something to hide, or sometimes they don't want to give an option. They already made the decision. Sometimes it's not the answers that people want to hear. Sometimes, and that's very important, that actually somebody has that vote and that voice over there from people, not just from what they all decided.
Yeah.
And it will be hard. It will be hard because obviously everybody probably working as a team, but I think it's possible.
Yeah, I don't know how many of you, have a collaborative approach to what you do for a living, or been part of teams, but I think I mentioned it earlier. I don't know if some of you joined late, but I appreciate candidates who bring something different to the 7 council members. For example, let's say we have a council member who's an attorney. That's an important skill to have. Let's make no mistake about it. Even if I don't agree with these attorney town council members, but my experience with working with attorneys, they like to work alone, or they have assistants that they could delegate some extra work to. But they're a certain type of personality, not bad personality, but I think having someone like Gustavo working in the schools, like I said earlier, and clearly a little bit of a people person, unless he's a very good actor here on this meeting. I don't think he is. I don't know Gustavo personally, but I do know Gustavo was active in the Bay Harbor chat that a lot of us heard about this meeting from when he was just a regular resident. So that's not make believe. You can't pretend to be that. So I do appreciate Gustavo you being always very active in the community chat.
And I will say, my, my wife yells at me sometimes for being too social. so, but yeah, you know,
For me, I'm sorry for interrupt. For me, I didn't know Gustavo. I didn't know, I don't know another person. I didn't know none of them. But to me, that person cannot make a time to actually to talk to the people in a time of election. That's a big red flag to me. I think that's the time for you to shine. And if you don't have a time because of the holidays or anything else, we're all busy. But if you don't have time already for us, I guess it's never going to happen when you're going to be elected.
no, and you know, someone mentioned about time. Even now, you know, I'm going to spend an hour with everybody here, and that's time, right? And that's all of our time. But the fact that we're together and we're collaborating, we're talking of ideas of things to make progress in Bay Harbor Islands, that's special. And to me, I really appreciate that because, like I said, I'm one person, but it's much stronger when there's 10, 20, 50, 100 of us, you know, fighting for a certain thing for a community. And that's just, you know, who I am. And that's who I'll always be. I'm not, I am not an actor. I'm not, you know, anything like that. And if you got to know me, you would know who I am. Even some of the people that know me in my building, you know, came to my defense when I found out about this slander stuff. Um, and you know, they know who I am. I even looked at it. I personally I didn't even know about it. To tell you the truth, that's I need to go back in the records now and find out what happened because it seems like something happened in 2022 and then in 2024 there was a verdict. Oh, so 2 years apart, and I just so I need to first of all verify if this is true or not. I'm assuming it is, but I don't know. Um, and if it was my mistake then. You know that I know that I was late at one filing. I was six days late. And that was my fault, and I'll take full responsibility for that. I have no problem with that. But as far as any other things, you know, I want to help the community. I really do. And when we collaborate, we can accomplish great things. Yeah, I live in Island Point. Well, you know, a strong school helps all of us. I mean, if you're an owner and y- that helps a lot. The property value and it attracts people, attracts young people with families. That's what attracted us here. We love the small town community and the fact that it had a strong school. So keeping the school strong will help everyone here in the community. What else was? I'm sorry. What was the question again? That you know what? I really want this help out the associations. I mean, each associations have little issues here and there. You know, what I would push is to make sure the associations are fully transparent because there's some associations that have great board members that are upfront with everything, and then there's some other ones that are kind of, you know, let's fudge a little here, fudge a little bit there. Um, I believe that have a, you know, even creating a line within the government of Bay Harbor Islands for people to call and say, hey, something's not right about this association. And therefore have an independent or someone come in and make sure to look at everything in there, because we don't want anything to happen like what happened in Surfside, and that was because of neglect. Correct? That was just flat out. They kept kicking the ball down, just kicking it, let the next people, try to pay for it. And that's what we do not want. So hopefully, maybe create some kind of form within. And this is just an idea, obviously. Hold on. Oh, okay, dismiss. Okay. This is just an idea that I have right now because you're asking that question. But we have to get input from in the community and see how they would feel about it. I also would love to do this with the new developments, to have a little area or a little bench where the public can walk out, between maybe the buildings, can walk out and have a bench out there. Because I know a lot of residents that live, not on the water, but, as one of them said to me, I live in an island, but I can't see the water. And I thought about that, and I'm like, you're right. It's not, personally, I don't think it's right that he lives in an island and he can't see the water. So one of the ideas that we came up with is like, have maybe a little bench when there's development going on, and have a little walkway for anyone to come in and sit down and just enjoy the ocean, the intercoastal. Um, any hello, David? Oh, okay. Sorry.
I just want to say thank you for making the time for this. I think that one of the questions at the top of the hour was, how with your busy life, with raising a family, teaching, coaching, will you make time for counsel? I think this is actually a testament to showing exactly what you said about you make time and prioritize the things that matter to you, and that's part of growing up. So thank you for making the time for this. This is actually more of a question for other people on the call. If my only disappointment about this call is that there are less than 20 of us, right? And I think that even in the group chat, a lot of information has come to light that I think is important for us to share with our neighbors. And I think that chat is about 150 people, but we're an island of 4,000 something voters, I believe. So this is more of a challenge to myself and to others of to make sure that we talk about the election to our neighbors and friends on the island. If you liked what you heard today, share that. If you don't like what you heard today, share that as well. That's the beauty of democracy, right? But I think that it's important that we get the word out and let people know that this meeting took place. And I think it's being recorded. So thanks, SurfBalBayNews. And thank you for taking the time to do this.
Yeah, no problem. It's my, like I said, when you're passionate for something, you create time. It's amazing what happens. And I, even as a teacher, would want, I have IEP meetings and so forth for my students, I'm sorry. I would never want to go into a meeting unprepared. That's just a lack of respect for the parents, for the student, for anyone. And I would never want to walk into a meeting, a council meeting, unprepared. That it would be pointless for me doing this. I mean, if I wasn't prepared. So, that I can promise you. Will I be, 100% on everything? Of course not. But I will be prepared for meetings, and I will make the time to, educate myself on issues that I may not be too familiar with. And I might ask somebody in here on this chat saying, you're more familiar with this. Please help me and educate me on X, Y, and Z.
Hey, Gustavo, I have a question, and after your answer, I might have a comment for the chat. Obviously, I know this is public information we could look up, but you could give me an estimate, won't hold you to it, but what is the estimate amount of contributions you've received for this campaign?
received around 3,500. My opponent has received around 15,000. So there's a big significance. I tried not to get, funding from realtors, developers. Yes, I could have called them and say, please donate to my campaign. I, I don't know. To me, we're not a large community. We're a small community here. To $15,000. I mean, come on, for what? Like, go
Yeah,
out.
I
Make,
actually think it's $30,000 plus last time I looked. So
okay.
I didn't
Yeah,
know your number. I knew your opponent's number because I was looking in to your opponent, deciding which way I want to go. But I said I might have a comment depending what your answer was. So it sounds like you've raised around 3,000 and change, and your opponent's raised 10 times that.
yeah,
Okay. We haven't heard from your opponent, at least publicly. I know anyone's in that chat, his opponent joined the chat and hasn't really said much or contributed like a normal person would speak in a group chat. And the reason I'm bringing this up, it's so important. I know there might be only like a dozen of us here, but I think it was Phoebe who mentioned if you like what you're hearing here, tell your neighbors, tell people about what we've heard here today, because that's where the strength is. My opinion, people who raise 30,000 plus, like Gustavo's opponent, they're just doing nothing more than a playbook. Part of that playbook, some of you, if you haven't checked your mail yet, you might have received a postcard from his opponent. I think Gustavo alluded to what that flyer was talking about earlier. And in my opinion, it's a $500 fine over an administrative mistake. Not a big deal. We've all had parking tickets, maybe even forgotten to pay them before. But I think the strength of the people in this meeting can make a big difference, not just for this election, for future elections too. I think Bay Harbor Islands Council has been decided as little as 200 or so votes before
yeah.
for this entire island. So if you are on this call and you like what you're hearing from Gustavo, I think the next step from here to election day, let's try to talk to our neighbors or become more neighborly. One thing I've tried to do, I used to be a lot private to myself, but I've done a better job. Even though I'm always in the community, I want to start engaging with my neighbors more, talking to folks at our local coffee shops here. But I think this is an important juncture for us in this chat to just do our civic duty. And like Phoebe said, whether you liked what you heard or didn't, it's equally powerful to just let's spread the message.
Thank
Can
you.
I make comment and ask a question? So yes, I haven't been on the meetings. I haven't been voting, and I have been, in this town for many years. But you know what? It's actually draw me into these elections is like I would be like on events and complaining about something, or I would always be complaining about the kids not having enough programs. And then I said, you know what? I will not make a change if I will not vote. So what happened is that I actually that's the reason why I got involved and tried to research on it. So I think just people don't take it serious, the elections. My second question will be how often you attend you are on the meetings. Like how often are you in.
I'm like probably I'll either listen in at times when I'm listening to the meetings, or
Mhm.
sometimes I'll go back and watch the videos of the meetings. Have I watched every meeting? No, I have not. That I can tell you. However, I do tend to probably I'd say 60% of the time, 70% of the time, I will either listen to it, I'll see the recording, or sometimes I'll attend the meetings.
Okay,
Now,
Hey,
because that's
but I'm
important.
not
Oh,
I'm not
sorry.
there
Thank
every time. I'm not like, but like I said, I'll listen, and so forth.
Hey,
you.
Gustavo, so just to piggyback off that, I've been to town council meetings. I do listen to them, probably mostly recordings on my own time.
Yeah.
They're very long, as you know. I'm just wondering, do you think you can, if you're elected, if you will be able to use your influence to make these meetings more efficient? Because there is a lot of back and forth amongst the council members. My opinion here, they like to hear themselves talk, and we're really not moving along efficiently and getting anything done in those meetings, and they're lasting a very long time. I would love to see some more efficiency in those meetings. I guess it's just a comment, not a question.
I agree with you 100%, and I think that's another reason why a lot of people don't go to them, because it is, it can get quite boring, and the long-winded answers, I can go back, even if I don't get elected, I'm gonna, go back to them and say, hey, guys, you gotta, use your wording, better. Find ways to just make it a little bit shorter to help the community, because they want to listen, they want to see it. However, when you get long-winded answers, that kind of just pushes them away. So I'll relay that information to them, period.
Thank you, sir.
We have about 5 minutes left, just to let everyone know. I don't know if I can extend it, but yeah, no, but and thank you everyone for taking your time. I really appreciate it. I think this is really excellent. And as I mentioned before, if I'm elected, I would love to continue to have once a month Zoom meetings. And you can say, Gustavo, what's wrong with you? You said you were going to do this. And I might say, yeah, you're right, I'm working on it. Or I might say, you're 100% right, I'm sorry, I haven't gotten to it. And I'll be honest with you. I know someone said, sometimes the council members do not want to give an answer because it might not be satisfactory. I mean, I'm going to say this, I'm doing my best. This is the answer. You may like it, you may not, and let the chips fall where they may. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to stop working on that particular issue. That's, just to let everyone know this. I didn't create any website or social media. I just felt like, I wanted to be out, and I've been out. I walk around a lot. I've been, to condos. I've been to, dog parks and so forth. And I went to the West Island as well, knock over there, and I wanted to be out, and I just, yes, I could have gone that route to make the website and all this information. And again, I'm doing this all on my own. I haven't asked anyone to, create a website. Actually, someone offered it, but a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, do you think it's really gonna make that big of a difference? I'm like, I'm out there, I'm trying to, I give my personal number on my flyer. If anybody wants to ever contact me, that is my number. I mean, that's not a random number. That's my personal number. So, to any of you, if you ever have any questions or anything like that, or comments, give me a call, send me a text, whatever you're more comfortable with. So that's why I didn't go that route, And originally, it does cost money, and since I wasn't planning on raising $30,000. I wanted to, raise what I can to send out my mailers and go out and on the streets and meet people. And you know what? I'm so. I think this is a mistake that I did. I should have had more Zoom meetings before. I just did not. I don't know why I did not think of that. I don't. I was so set on the debate. I was really brushing up, looking at everything within the debate, the budget, the millions of dollars for this, that, and so I was so focused on the debate that I felt like I didn't need to create one of these. And now that we didn't have the debate, I am very, very sorry that I didn't have a Zoom meeting earlier. Okay, excellent, excellent. All right. So yeah, we have 2 more minutes.
Thank you so much. And you will share it, and I will reshare it in my building group. in case somebody also, had some questions. I'm sure, a lot of people in my building older, so they cannot go on the Zoom, but, in the future, we can always create some in-person meetings, in our building or something. Thank you. Thank you.
And my personal number, 480-550-1817. Again, that is my number. Okay, everyone?
Mhm.
Thank you
Thank you
again.
so much. Have a
Bye,
good night.
Gustavo. Thank you.